been involved in every single game. And that's, as you said, Greymane and Genji, that's Hanzo, and that's also Rhaegar. All of them in 100% of the games, either played or banned. Interestingly enough, though, Hanzo, if you look at the global meta, if you take Korea and North America into consideration, has not been played in every single game. Greymane and Genji have. Hanzo in one of the Korean games was neither picked nor banned. But his win ratio is also extremely interesting because Europe currently he sits at 80% win ratio in the games that we played. In Korea, he's still at a solid 50%, but in North America, at 25% win ratio for Hanzo currently. So not really too much success on the NA side with a new hero.
Stats, you gotta love them. And again, we're throwing some numbers at you. It's only day number 1, some things to learn about, and things to keep an eye on as we continue to move through this draft. Basically, what we're saying is that in this draft, we're going to be seeing Hanzo at some point, whether it be a ban or a pickup. Also, the supports are going to be the Lucio and the Rhaegar. A lot of the tanks coming up, ETC, Muradin, as well as Arthas seem to be high primary pickups. We did have Johanna, but it seems like Lava really enjoys that Johanna more.
Yeah, interesting already what we're seeing here. Zealots, for example, they have not banned Abathur. The Abathur ban goes over on the side of Team Liquid, as they are not first pick in this scenario. So really interesting to see that it's not only against Team Liquid where we see that Abathur, that fear of Abathur, but Team Liquid themselves also really respecting the hero. And now when we're going into the first pick, Genji is chosen. Genji was actually the most banned hero yesterday. That was oftentimes to make allowances for Hanzo to be picked so that he isn't under too much pressure. We saw what happened to the Zealots once that they played Hanzo against Genji, that all of a sudden ADRD really struggled to get the pressure out with Hanzo because Genji was always on him trying to pressure him. And that's one of the thought processes that we see now coming into play here as well for the Zealots. They pick an early pick on Genji, and so if now Hanzo is picked by Team Liquid, they have already one tool that can really try and shut him down.
That's right, and usually you try to have some kind of protection with that Hanzo if you're going to move into him. However, we are getting the Uther and Dehaka for Team Liquid, so they are forgoing the choice to pick up Hanzo here, and instead grabbing that Uther for Splendor, which he played well on yesterday, and now Dehaka for Eternal, which should be able to control that double soak and also have that global be brought in so they can go for invades on sappers if they need to.
Yeah, there's a couple of really interesting synergies with this already, because if you think about Uther, then normally we're talking about Divine Shield. That's one of the reasons why we oftentimes mention ETC with a Mosh Pit. That's something that Team Liquid used yesterday as well, and you can of course always combo Uther's Divine Shield with Genji. But if you play Uther against Genji, then in the past we've seen a lot of Divine Storm and you can try and lock him down. So when we're talking about Hanzo being threatened by Genji, if you pick Uther, it allows you then to go into Hanzo. You can either provide the Divine Shield, or you can just wait for Genji to make his move, get the stun in with Uther, and then try to punish Genji for the aggression. So there's already a couple of mind games happening here. Could also simply just be a setup to help ETC out when he tries to engage with the Mosh Pit. But already for Team Liquid, a pretty solid start, since they could have also gone into Lucio instead, just to make sure that they have a sound barrier available when Genji starts to use his Dragon Blade.
Well, for now, we have Arthas and the Hanzo. Arthas being grabbed by Zealots this time instead of us seeing it on Team Liquid like we did yesterday. Arthas great in the solo lane and actually does okay against Dehaka. He'll be able to push in. Not going to be able to bully him too much, but still a threat that should be able to protect that backline when they need to. Arthas provides a cushion for those backline assassins that you need to protect later on. We're probably going to see another tank later.
Yeah, Arthas is once again in a setup where he can play the main tank, he can be on the off lane, he can definitely threaten Dehaka there. So he's very flexible in the way that you design your draft at the beginning, and he's one of the best tanks that we currently have in the meta. Now, with Hanzo also taken on the side of the Zealots, they now go for both of the brothers here, and that's a lot of mobility that they have. Arthur's the one that is a little bit of an odd man out here. And the interesting part is going to be if we are also now seeing, for example, Lucio making an appearance here, even speeding up the entire process even more. Team Liquid, on the other hand, is a bit more worried about the tendency that we have seen yesterday, where Tyrael had a very high priority in picks for most of the teams, especially Tricked Esports, for example, had a very high priority on Tyrael, but they were not the only ones. Tyrael really starting to make a bit of an impression here, and Team Liquid, with the setup that the Zealots are currently running here, just don't want to run any risks, and therefore ban him out first.
Yeah, it's a double whammy there. The Tyrael being banned out because he's being strong, but also because of what he gives to Genji and Arthas. Getting that sanctification allows for you to dive a target and kill him, so not a shabby ban at all. And Gul'dan! We saw Gul'dan, I believe, 3 times yesterday, a couple of times from Hospital himself, laying those big Horrifies and allowing for his team to pick off a target. And when you have a Horrify, into a stun, you can kill Genji, and even Arthas in the correct setup here. So not a bad from Zealots, and they're obviously doing the work in researching their opponents.
Yeah. Gul'dan was played 4 times yesterday in total. Had 3 wins and 1 loss, so a 75% win ratio. And the same is also true for Arthas. The exact same stats. Was played in 4 games and won 3 of them. So at this point, one of the best tanks. The only other tank that really can rival Arthas at this point in the European meta is ETC. And that's what we're now currently seeing from Team Liquid. And we also see Lunara. Ooh. That is actually a really interesting pick considering what the Zealots already have. Hanzo and Genji on the other side. So mobility and a lot of pressure against Lunara if it's executed properly.
This puts a lot of work on Splendor here on the Uther, making sure that Lunara stays alive. If a Dragon Arrow comes out and Genji falls up into a Swift Strike and Dragon Blade, that Lunara is pretty much deleted. However, it is a volatile matchup. If Lunara is able to get her auto tech off, bring in the slow as well, Genji can struggle in the fight if she handles that full frontal damage that comes out from the Hanzo and the Genji. It's going to be a bit of a risk here, but Team Liquid, they feel comfortable in it.
Yeah, and for me personally, the question is now, first of all, what the Zealots draft in terms of supports. Rhaegar would be the obvious choice at this point for them. It's definitely someone who can provide that AoE heal. Yeah. Has also still decent camp play, even though, of course, there have been changes with Lightning Bond. And he has that panic button available, which can be really powerful in the setup. And Rhaegar is chosen. Together with him, we also have that second tank that we talked about earlier. So we're now seeing Johanna in the mix. And it's quite likely that it's going to be Mopsio on Johanna and then Zarmini on Arthas.
Johanna getting more love. Love to see it there. Helping out with the wave clear. Wave clear is so important in this patch. So if you can grab those tanks that allow you to bring in the wave clear, you get a plus in my book. Final pickup coming in here from Team Liquid. Looks like they need a little bit more damage, something with kill potential, and something that can threaten a kill on Hanzo. Usually you want to have some kind of dive. What comes to mind for you?
For Team Liquid, it's going to be an interesting setup, because yesterday how they answered that question is they went into Tracer.
Yeah.
And right now, that wouldn't really work the same way for them anymore. So they definitely have to adjust their style here a bit. I don't think they can fall back into the same draft pattern that they had. For me, it's really a question about Lunara mainly. They need someone that is also able to just provide a little bit of space for Lunara by simply occupying the opponent. They go for the double support with Lucio, and that answers that question. Because, as I said before, first of all, I like this choice for a couple of reasons. First of all, we talked about how Lucio would have been an option over Uther, since we have Genji on the other side, and with Dragon Blade you can always counter it with a sound barrier. And then when we saw Lunara, the immediate go-to for us was, could be a great pick here, but at the same time, it's a little bit rough to keep her alive because there's just so much pressure on her. And she is a squishy. Now we have the second support in the mix, and all of a sudden you have a little bit more freedom in the way that you can move with her more aggressively. And let's not forget that it opens up another avenue for Uther as well, who now is not forced to go into Divine Shield.
Yes.
Has the option to actually head into the stun. So if Hanzo or Genji get a bit too close to Uther, he can drop the stun and then they can capitalize on it. So there's a few options that they have in the gameplay at this point.
So for me, I'm looking at Zealots. I want them to try and get an early lead on the altars and getting points, or even getting a few kills in the early game, or controlling a bell tower through the sappers. This late game composition for Team Liquid is quite scary. Lunara spiking up, you get the heals from Lucio at level 16, and Benediction for Uther. You talked about the Divine Storm and how important it can be against Genji. Imagine 2 stuns, locking him down and then focusing down a target. Team Liquid wants to get that late game, and Towers of Doom, if you're allowed to do that, usually you get a comeback going.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this game is going to go, since this is also the first double support composition that we have in the European meta right now. So double support isn't dead. It's still played by teams, but it's more of a situational
niche
pick now. Exactly. It's more niche than it was before. The meta definitely leans towards the single supports, the solo supports at this point, but double support can still be an option. And in this case, it's still the same idea that it was before. Try and enable a hyper carry, and then make sure that you just have that long sustain when you fight over an altar.
Well, let's see if the hyper carry will pull off against the Shimada brothers. Game number 1, Towers of Doom in the best of 5 series. Team Liquid taking on the Zealots.
And to the left side, we have Team Liquid now on our first map, Towers of Doom, with Sport Billy on ETC, Splendor on Lucio, Eternal on the Haka, Hazorps playing Lunara today, and Nurok on Uther.
On the right side, in the red, Zealots here. Chris will be playing Genji, ADRD will be showing off the Hanzo once again, Chad on Rhaegar, Mopsio playing Johanna, and Zarmini will be your Arthas player for today.
And Lunara makes an appearance for the first time in HGC Europe 2018. Johanna, on the other hand, we've seen her already a couple of times. But at this point, Johanna still sits at a 0% win ratio. We have seen her twice, and both times she lost the game. There was leftovers that played her. Now we have Zealots at this point trying to increase that win ratio a little bit. And I'm especially interested to see how the combo between Hanzo and Genji is going to fare for the Zealots in this first game of the series.
Poor JoJo, not getting the wins she deserves, man. One of those heroes that you love to see, especially on maps like Tuma, Spider Queen. Let's see if Mopsio will fare better. ADRD already bringing the aggression. Want to notice a difference in builds? ADRD is usually one of those that enjoys playing different builds, but this is one of my favorites actually on Hanzo. Going into the level 1 talent here, picking up the redemption for the auto attacks, which is great. When you finish 12 stacks, get the attack speed.
I was actually a bit surprised how little we've seen this build yesterday. He was the only one who played it in scrims. It had there are a couple of different builds that you can definitely go into with Hanzo, and one of the builds that we have seen to be very dominant yesterday was the Stormbow build.
Yes.
But overall, I expected more auto-attack builds to come into play here, since a lot of the players have been experimenting with that a lot. But still, we haven't seen all the teams play just yet, so there's going to be a few changes over the next 2 days as well.
So I'm a self-proclaimed Hanzo main before he got OP. When it came to different builds, I felt like the Q build was safer and it allowed you to poke a little bit more, and it was deadly once you finish out the quest. It feels great. The auto-attack build, if you're able to work in the attacks constantly, will be rewarding, but you put yourself in a spot where you have to make sure you are in a location to where you can jump out, because if not, situations like this happen. You get picked off. And that's probably why we're seeing the Q build more. It's a little bit safer, you can stay behind your front line, and your squishiness isn't a factor.
Yeah, the squishiness of Hanzo is definitely one of his biggest weak points, and it's exactly what Team Liquid has been talking about yesterday. After their victory over Leftovers, we talked to Hazops, and he said that Hanzo, he was also surprised by the high involvement rate of Hanzo, because if you look at the actual scrims that the teams played, Hanzo was a factor, but he was never as oppressive in how often he's picked and banned as he is now in the actual league play. So Hazops himself was a bit surprised by it, and he said that he feels Hanzo is strong, but you can either just ban him or you have to have an answer for him. And they are very confident that this is an answer here. But Lunara goes down as the Zealots are starting to turn up the heat, and they want Nurok as well. If they can go for the double kill here, that would be fantastic. But Sportbilly comes in, power slides, and presses everybody back, saving Uther for now. But at least the Zealots now tying up the kill count.
Yeah, Lunara getting a little aggressive on the Hanzo. He's able to jump over the wall, and Chris comes in. Younger brother, saving big brother for once here, and is able to get the pick off on Lunara. Now, how many altars will be grabbed by the Zealots? They have the top right already under control, and the bottom side is being focused on.
I like the geometry there from ADRD shooting into the wall and getting just every single arrow returned back towards him. That was absolutely fantastic. Outside of that, though, the third altar still being fought over here, and Zealots are taking the better position right now. They're doing really well with this, trying to provide the space for Shat so they can get the channel through. Dehaka finds himself at the top still. Team Liquid with the attempt to get a bit of extra experience. Here's the channel. Mopsu needs to be careful, also running a little bit low on mana, but Sportbilly on the other hand, he's also low. Here they come, trying to take ETC down, but the tank walks away.
Dehaka's coming in, though. Eternal, he wants to fight. Can he land the drag? They don't get the drag on Hanzo, but they do pick up the kill on Johanna. So there we go, a little bit of a trade there. Alter for a kill, Team Liquid grabbing a lead in experience.
And that was actually really well done, because at that point, Team Liquid identified that Arthas was not in the fight any longer. Arthas already moving out, because Dehaka staying at the top lane allowed Team Liquid to push an extra wave out. And Zealots realized very quickly that if they don't send someone up to the top, they would lose out on all the experience. So Arthas was the one to make his way over back to the solo lane, and that's the timing that Dehaka used to move into the fight, turn into a 5 versus 4, and then net that kill. Because they also were very well aware that Dehaka would have way enough time to just move back up top without losing out on any XP.
Those pesky globals, gotta think about them. Also gotta think about these power slides. Mopsio taking some damage on the bottom side. Eventually he'll pop the Iron Skin and back up, while ADRD actually gets a nice amount of redemption stacks there and finishes his quest, by the way. So now he'll be able to start working in his auto attacks. Now this is the odd pickup though at level 4. Picking up Ignore All Distractions. This allows you to one-shot minions, but you also get a range increase by an extra 1. You go from 2 to 3 with your ability to finish off a minion. So you get a little bit more poke when you're around minion waves, but it can be a bit awkward to pull off. I think he's doing this here because he wants to stay away from the ETC. He does not want to be grabbed in a power slide.
Yeah, the extra 2 range is definitely something that can really help you and sort of stay a little bit safer towards the back if you play your cards right. At this point, they're already trying to go for Hazops and Nuro again. This is something that Zealots have been trying to do several times now. These quick rotations towards the lane and trying to catch someone off guard. But Liquid with the double support, and Lucio in particular, is usually able to move away from this and still stay safe. They have at this point 2 kills against 1, and with a single altar available right now, both teams, of course, very eager to go for this fight. The interesting part is really how Team Liquid is now by already a level ahead. And they hold up at the top lane Dehaka against Arthurs. But Dehaka can move down with the global ability, if need be, to get that last altar.
Zealots are poking here, but for the most part, they're going to lose out on this trade. If they take too long poking, just because of how far they are in levels, Hasselhoff eventually will get the altar as they're not able to delay any longer. And now it's all about getting level 10. Team Liquid will be grabbing that soon. And there is a cap as Sappers for Zealots to grab on the bottom right. I would recommend grabbing it now before that 10 hits and Team Liquid invades. But they're looking for a safe play. They're just running state to the lanes, and they're going to try their best to soak.
Yeah, I'm really liking the way that Team Liquid is playing this. It's one of the things where we come back to that drafting, and it has definitely changed now that Sport Billy is in the mix as well. Nurok down here is a little bit too far, but still walks away. And AD is nearly dying, needs to be careful. But we might even see Rega in trouble, and yes, with Eternal moving in and connecting the drag, they are able to take the dog down. Great effort here by Team Liquid. And they are looking really solid these days. I mean, we talked about their performance yesterday, notably against Leftovers, the newer team, the inexperienced team in HGC. But they just look like they have this very clear thought of how to approach the game and how to play. Their rotations look very crisp and clear. And they come into every single one of these games with a good strategy that so far really worked out over the past 2 days for them.
Yeah, they certainly look sharp, that's for sure. And right now, Team Liquid and Zealots are tied up 32-32. So now is the time for Zealots to make their play. They do have the engage available on their side. Dragon's Arrow into a Blessed Shield into Dragon Strike is a deadly combination. Lucio landing a Sound Barrier can negate a majority of that, but let's see if we can get the engages from the Zealots to prevent that from occurring. If they can get a pick right away, they'll start to run forward on the fights.
Yeah, right now we are having still Dehaka at the top lane trying to provide the extra experience. He's going to join the fight a bit later. We have already a lot of pressure on ETC, and that's a problem for Sport Billy. He needs to be careful there. Rega's making his way over to the altar, and that triggers Team Liquid's attack immediately. Dehaka still with a bit of experience in the mid lane. So far, Team Liquid can interrupt, so there's no problem for them just yet. And time is working in Team Liquid's favor.
That it is, Dehaka constantly soaking in the middle side. Shad thinking about grabbing the altar, but with Mopsio in a weird position where he's dealing minions on the top right, he can't really move forward yet. Finally, Zarmi steps forward to allow him the space to grab said altar. The Dragon's Arrow will come out, and they're looking to focus a target, but Hasselhoff just bounds over a target and gets away.
Really well done here. Shad, on the other hand, wants to go for the channel and is interrupted once again. Here comes the watch, the Divine Shield is out as well. Nurok in a bit of trouble. Dehaka came finally in and connects to Dragon Rega as they're going in. Zarmony surrounded now as well. Eternal low though, gets the burrow, tries to move out. Cleanse hits him, and Team Liquid walks away. But the Zealots are able to grab the altar.
That was a really impressive fight from both sides in terms of layering the heroics. The Divine Shield into the Mosh Pit, the drag landing on Rhaegar, Rhaegar getting the cleanse, getting the escape away. And then we had Chris finally trying to follow it up with a Dragon Blade. Sadly, he wasn't able to get any kills, but they did get the altar. At the same time, though, the top lane is already taking some damage from minions that were pushing in, and the wall was broken down.
Yeah, and the more important part about it is that there was a massive, massive double wave. I think even a bit bigger than that, from Team Liquid moving into these towers, and Zealots missed out on all the experience. So Liquid's idea was, of course, to prolong the capture of the altar at the bot lane, to delay it for as long as possible and get the experience with Dehaka before moving in. They lost the altar, but they were still able to deny a lot of experience to the Zealots, and so for the next stage of the game, there is going to be a massive edge for Liquid as they are closing in on level 13 talents, even aggressively moving in for the camp. They are stealing the Sappers, and now they go for Shed, and they get the kill and even save ETC.
Does Eternal have glue on that tongue? He has landed 4 tongues in a row that have been important, 3 of them on a Rhaegar. Finally, one nets a kill, but this kid is destroying today.
Yeah, Eternal is just participating a lot more than yesterday. Finally, he is in a position and on a hero where his job is not only to soak the offlane, but also to jump in and get a bit of damage done here and make the plays, and he's delivering. And now we have 4 kills against 1. We have Liquid with an entire level ahead, an extra talent, which of course signifies a power spike for them. So right now, they have a really good position when it comes to the 2 altars that are just now spawning on the map.
Now, with the talent advantage, it's great there, but Zealots are still ahead here, 32 to 28. They would not mind trading a 1-for-1 here. Granted, a pick or 2 and grabbing both would be great for them, but they're still in the lead. They want level 13, and they want to grab one of these altars. Can they delay one?
Lucio was trying to get the channel, Genji interrupted, and Splendor is now fighting over. But again, Dehaka up at the top. Another wave going to be lost for the Zealots, but as you already said, if they can get a trade here, they would be happy with it. And if the Zealots can get more, that would be fantastic. And they picked up level 13, so it's a fight on even talents once again.
ADRD's geometry is a little bit too strong right now, keeping the delay on the bottom side. Finally, we have Arthas grabbing the tribute on the middle side, getting more points in favor of Zealots, and they are in a spot to contest the bottom altar. Dehaka continues to be a thorn, though, so Zealots need to make a decision now.
I think Team Liquid is absolutely fine giving up 1, maybe even 2 of the altars here, because they get a lot for it. And this is a map where the late game really matters at this point. Again, the engagement down here at the bottom. Dehaka moving in. Eternal is pulling the trigger here as Harmony pops his ult as well. They're trying to go in. Mopsio is already low, and Johanna needs to be a bit careful here as we still have Team Liquid poking from the outside.
And Eternal misses the drag. Big miss there from him. Shadow's able to get back to the altar and start channeling. At the same time, Mopsio continues to move forward. Divine Shield comes out from Uther, keeping him alive. Sport Billy trying to chase down Mopsio. Does he have a power slide? His mana is low. They're able to keep escaping here. Arthas so landed with an isolation into a slow. That's going to be a kill as Arthas will fall.
5 kills against 1. The Zealots get bow. Oh, the connected. Oh my god, ADRD. He is down. But Dehaka dies as well. Chris moves in with the Dragon Blade, tries to connect for another kill. Lucio moving out. Sport Billy as the mana for face melt pushes them back. Lens comes out on Hazu, and Liquid walks away.
Chris may have actually gotten a couple kills there if it wasn't for hostile ops. He got a couple of auto attacks in and then popped his W, slowed down Chris on the movement, so he couldn't get that last couple of Dragon Blades in.
Yeah, and Sport Leech pushing him back as well. But let's talk for a second about the situation now. Team Liquid is way behind when it comes to the points on the core, but I actually think they are super happy with their position overall. They are on 20 points on the core against 32. But if you look at the map and what they accomplished throughout the last few altar phases, they have now netted themselves nearly a 2-level lead, and they put heavy pressure onto the top right bell tower. So obviously they would have loved to get one of the 2 altars, maybe even both. But I think their whole game plan really is buy enough time for Dehaka, get a massive lead, and then take map control with level 16. And now they are in a position where they can all of a sudden threaten the bottom right bell tower and the top right bell tower. So if they continue that snowball with level 16, they should be able to make up for this gap in actual hit points on the core really quickly. And I think that's the whole idea of the way that they are playing this at this point.
Well, let's see how they handle this triple altar phase. With Lucio being on the field too, they should be able to beeline to any altar they would like. Lucio floating around the middle so he can go to Dehaka if he needs to, or go to the bottom lane to help out his teammates. The teammates actually right now are starting to channel with ETC on the bottom and Dehaka on the left.
Yeah, Liquid needs to get 2 out of the 3. If they get 2 out of the 3, they're going to be happy with this. And that's currently what they're aiming for. So they already had to give up 1. They are going to channel through at the bottom right. And up at the top, they can still interrupt. Oh, the arrow is hitting Lucio. They can't lose Splendor here right now. And he barely gets away. Eternal with the isolation. Great play by him.
Heads-up play there from Eternal, stopping Chris from getting that kill. He was half a second away from doing so, and now we're going to have Team Liquid come to the top side and start fighting against their opponents.
That was a great move by Hazops as well, with the attempt to interrupt against Chris. Chris actually survives here against the poison, but there's another kill as we see Rhaegar die. But what he actually did was just he flipped over someone to try and get the auto attack and just weave it in, but barely Chris was able to complete the channel. Now, there's a few problems right now, though. Team Liquid's strategy, as I said, I think they're willing to let a lot slide. But now they again lost 2 out of the 3 altars. And that is a big problem. Because with the level 16 power spike against level 14, they needed to do more. What Liquid currently is struggling with a bit is to actually capitalize on advantages that they have. Overall, I like the idea of giving up parts of the early game and parts of the objective to get a massive lead, a snowball, and an edge. But if they don't use that edge, then it's an issue. So Zealots, they are losing heroes left and right, but they are winning the game right now, and Liquid needs to finally pull the trigger and be more aggressive.
Yeah, Zealots are controlling the objective well enough. An arrow comes out, it will not connect. Arthas still alive. The Ancestral does connect, but a Mosh Pit comes in too. Sport Billy keeping Zarmany and Rhaegar at bay. Can they get the kill? Splendor moving forward. Zarmany's still low, finally gets picked off by Hasselhoff, and the fort will fall as well.
Very well done by Sport Billy. Absolutely beautiful play with ETC and body blocking, sliding, stunning, and then at the moment when he sees, okay, the Ancestral is going to come through, it is going to save Arthas, he moves into the perfect spot and drops the Mosh Pit and allows another kill. So they again are in a position where they get the kills, they are 2 levels ahead, but now, as we said before, they have to be a bit more when it comes to capitalizing on it. Them losing out 2 altars in the triple altar phase, that was definitely a problem. So now they have to posture a little bit farther forward and make sure that they are aggressively positioning around the altar on the side of the Zealots.
Zealots will have Arthas up in 3 seconds. They're just trying to buy time here for him to show up while Dahaka channels on the left side. Dahaka's going to burrow in and look for a pick. Can he grab Hanzo? He does grab the Hanzo. Cleanse comes out right away, so Mafia stepping forward. But Hasselhoff, he's channeling. He's not being interrupted. Is he going to get it? He does. Hasselhoff bounds away, happy with some points.
And that's immediately another 5 shots fired. And now we're talking about exactly what I mentioned earlier. Look at the hit points on the core. Just by them grabbing the top right and getting the double, we are now looking at 12 versus 14. So this massive gap where Zealots had such a huge lead is all of a sudden closed. And still Team Liquid has nearly the 2-level lead over their opponents. So they will work towards the level 20. From a strategical point of view, I am loving Team Liquid's game. Every now and then, from an objectives point of view, they should have maybe aggressively tried to get a trade instead of giving up too much to the Zealots. But the way they actually play this in their game plan, it's pretty impressive.
That it is. And they're hoping to continue it. Team Liquid on the bottom side, keeping everyone on Zealots on the bottom, trying to defend, while Arthas is hoping desperately to soak up experience. Zealots might have to come down to a chance where they try to fight before that 20 hits, but they'll need Arthas to come in for a big flank, and Splendor has that on lock. He is currently locating this Arthas, looking for him, and even soaking him in a lave.
So now, we've been fanboying Team Liquid strategy for quite some time now, but let's talk a bit about the Zealots here. They have shown great aggression, and I like the way that they utilize their mobility to really just move on the map and get those altars. And that's the one big edge that they had the entire time. Controlling your objective more so than winning the team fights. But what they really need to try and do is, in a fight, try and flip the switch aggressively to get a kill. Maybe lead with the Howling Blast, Johanna stun, move in with Hanzo and getting his own stun in as well shortly after and get a kill. And they need to do that fast because they're losing ground. They have no level 20, they're fighting against Storm Talons, and now that they lost the bottom bell tower, it also means that the altar that just spawns is a very safe altar for Team Liquid to take.
Yeah, they should just give it here. Try and control these Sappers if they can. Sappers going to make it through, though. Johanna can't really do too much. A few more shots landing on the core of the Zealots, while 5 more will come from Splendor's altar channel. Arthas is getting some experience on the top side, but they are still 1 full level away from that 20 that you just mentioned. They have time here, luckily, but they have to make sure they don't lose too much more.
They need to win a team fight. Zealots at this point really needs to win a team fight. If they can pre-stun someone and then Hanzo drops his ult in as well, they might just have enough to get the damage in and confirm the kill despite the double support setup that we have for Team Liquid. And if they can make that happen and maybe Chase get another kill or 2, we could look at a scenario that flips just simply through the momentum that they could build up with multiple kills. The death timers are long enough at this point that you could make that happen. The problem is that Team Liquid is playing this really safe. Sport Billy in particular, he is anchoring the entire time with ETC. He's protecting the flanks. He's making sure that no one can move in without going through ETC. So right now, Liquid with a very, very disciplined approach to the game. But the Zealots, as we said, all they need is one good engage into a team fight and they can turn this around.
One good engage can help them out, especially with the boss spawning soon here. A few more seconds and it will be up. And they have just hit level 22. Which is good for them here. Nurok continues to help try to push us in here. Do they get any Sappers to move through? It looks like it will be defended by the Zealots here. 6 points to 12. Team Liquid in the lead, 20 to 20. And I think you're right, man. It's all going to come down to one team fight.
Yeah, in the meantime, we have Dehaka still up at the top, going for another camp now. He wants to put the pressure again onto the top right bell tower. And the Zealots are with 5 men at the bot lane. They're not even mirroring Dehaka anymore. They're just trying to get their bell tower back, because this bell tower is a massive problem for Zealots, as it is in the hands of Team Liquid. They can't move through to those altars without going past it. That's their biggest problem. Dehaka gets the camp to the top, is now putting the additional pressure on, can burrow down to the bottom whenever he wants to, and now the altar is activating any second. Here comes Dehaka going in. Team Liquid is looking for the fight.
The Cleanse will save Chris, so he's fine for now. Mobstio moving forward with the Iron Skin, looking for the fight with Zomni, finally landing a Howling Blast. It will connect with the Lucio and Dehaka. Mobstio keeps taking a beating on that front line, but finally get the altar so they can keep pushing forward. Chris, he pops the Dragon Blade, looking for the fight.
Billy is in a bit of trouble here, but he gets the Divine Shield and has the Mosh Pit, and immediately Hazard is trying to get the kills. Genji already down, 80 already in the backline. The squishy Hanzo is extremely low. Sport Billy slides in again. The sound barrier comes out. Perfect timing on these ults by Liquid. The drag connects once again. Eternal, a beast.
ADRD getting lower on that poison. It gets propped finally by Hasi. Will he fall with the Lucio boops? It does. The damage comes out, and that is going to be a channel from Sport Billy, while more members of Zealots continue to fall. Mobstio wants to come in and maybe interact a little bit, but this game is looking like it's over.
Yeah, Lucio is on the channel right now, and he is going for it. Splendor confirming the final shots that head to the right side. Zealots losing game number 1 as Team Liquid claims victory on Towers of Doom.
Clean and sharp. It's actually kind of weird. We were complimenting